Disability rules. Bam! Right into it, COB Masters. You see that Medicare card, that wheelchair? We're talking MSP primacy for our folks under 65 with a disability. Who's paying first here? Think about it. If their employer has 100 or more employees, that's the critical number, do not miss it. Then the group health plan, the GHP, is primary. Medicare, you got it, secondary. We absolutely have to ensure those GHP benefits are exhausted before Medicare steps in. Are you seeing how that employment size impacts everything? That's where we find the real savings. This is part 3, and we're already nailing this complex logic.
All right, you see that magnificent 100 glaring at us through the magnifying glass? That's not just a number, that's a primacy game changer for a very specific group. We're talking disability MSP here, members under 65, and this is where it gets absolutely critical. Why 100? Because when our beneficiary is under 65 and covered due to a disability, we must ask the question, does their employer have 100 or more employees? Yes, you heard that right, 100 plus. If the employer meets that threshold, boom, the group health plan, our client, is primary. Medicare, they're secondary. Think about it. This is massive. We're digging into those claims, spotting those under 65 disabled members. If we verify that employer group size, we've just uncovered a huge potential for recovery. Get that right, and you're not just auditing, you're mastering the nuances of MSP. So 100 for disability under 65, got it? Let's go find those claims.
All right, we've got a personnel file and a subject profile. Two sides of the same coin, but oh so critical details. First, your eyes laser onto the subject criteria. What do we see? Status, under 65 years old. Got it. Entitlement, disability, specifically from Social Security. Crucial. Coverage, active GHP via employment. Yes. Exclusions, not age entitlement and not ESRD. Now, why are those exclusions, especially not age entitlement and not ESRD, so incredibly vital? Because over on the subject profile, we have this blaring note in big, bold red. It screams, critical. These rules apply strictly to disability entitlement. Do not confuse with working-aged or ESRD protocols. Are you seeing the precision demanded here? You must distinguish these. If this beneficiary were working-aged, meaning 65 or older with an employer of 20-plus employees, their group health plan would still be primary, but the reason for primary is different, right? And if it were ESRD, well, that's a whole 30-month coordination period game, unless they were already Medicare primary due to age or disability, in which case Medicare remains primary. Do you grasp that layered logic? The vendor needs you to understand that the origin of the Medicare entitlement fundamentally changes the MSP rules you apply. Disability under 65 years old, active GHP, employer of 100-plus employees, GHP is primary. But that's a specific path. Don't mix your protocols, COB Master, or you'll introduce massive accuracy errors. You're a COB Master because you dissect these details. Let's talk about the big kahuna, GHP or Medicare. Who pays first? This is the ultimate primary payer showdown, right? We've got commercial group health plans, represented by the corporate building, versus Medicare, represented by the government dome. Who takes the lead? The entire verdict, every single time, hinges on one crucial piece of intel. Employer size. Are you grasping this? It's the linchpin. Think about it. If we have a working-aged beneficiary, 65 or older, and their employer has 20 or more employees, boom, commercial GHP is primary, Medicare is secondary. That's huge. And for our beneficiaries under 65, qualified through disability, if that employer hits 100 or more employees, guess what? Again, GHP is primary, Medicare is secondary. Are you seeing this intricate dance? This isn't just arbitrary. It's about shifting that payment liability. We're looking for those hidden GHP primary scenarios where Medicare was paid incorrectly as primary. That's where the money is. That's where we find the recoveries. So when you see a member with Medicare and a GHP, your brain should immediately scream, what's the employer size? That's your golden ticket to unlocking primacy. Let's go find those errors.
100. That's our critical threshold. You see that massive 100 with the threshold stamped right across it? This number is everything when we're dealing with disability MSP. So here's the deal. For a beneficiary under 65 receiving Medicare due to disability, the group health plan is primary if the employer has at least 100 employees. Got it? 100 employees or more, and that GHP steps up as primary. Medicare then takes a back seat as secondary. Now, don't miss the crucial distinction at the bottom, because this is where the audit team catches errors. We cannot mix up our thresholds. The working-aged threshold for those 65 and up is a different animal, right? That's 20 employees, but for disability, it's a whopping 100. You've got to keep these separate in your mind. This nuance, this is how you master COB, by pinpointing these specific employee counts to correctly assign primacy. Boom, that's massive overpayment potential right there.
All right, let's nail scenario A. You see this, right? An employer with 100 plus employees. What does that instantly tell us? Bam, the GHP pays primary. No question, Medicare is stepping back here, paying secondary. This is a classic large employer situation, keeping those group health plans firmly in the lead for our beneficiaries. But wait, hold up, check out this side note. This is where you separate the apprentices from the masters. The multi-employer rule is huge. Did you catch it? If you have a plan that includes even one employer with 100 or more staff, guess what? The entire group is treated as a large employer. Think about that complexity. One large fish in the pond, and suddenly the whole pond is large. That's critical for determining primacy, isn't it? Don't miss this detail. It changes everything for the entire group. This is the kind of nuance that makes you a COB legend.
Buckle up. Scenario B, the small group exception. You see this storefront, right? It says less than 100 employees and bam, Medicare primary, GHP secondary. Seems straightforward, right? But wait, pause for a second. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? A trap, a test of your newfound mastery. The golden rule etched in our brains. For a small employer, Medicare is primary when there are fewer than 20 employees, not 100. This is a critical distinction, my friends. If it's truly a small group, under 20 employees, Medicare steps up first, absolutely. The GHP, our plan, becomes the secondary payer, picking up the leftovers. And look at that side note, another layer of awesome complexity. Must not be part of a multi-employer group with a 100-plus member. Why is that so crucial? Because otherwise, what would stop a large employer from just breaking up into smaller groups to push Medicare primary? Nope, we're too smart for that. So, under 20 employees and not part of a bigger group, then Medicare is primary. Are you ready to catch these nuances every single time? Because that's what makes you a COB master.
All right, COB masters, let's talk about the multi-employer trap. Look at this, it's a real curveball. You've got your employer over here, tiny, just 15 staff, right? What do we know about employers with less than 20 employees? Typically, Medicare is primary, no question. But then they join an association plan. See that network? Now, buried in that same association plan is Giant Corp, a behemoth with 500 staff. And here's where the trap springs. The rule of association states crystal clear. If it's a multi-employer group, the largest employer in that group sets the rule for everyone, even your small employer. So what happens? Despite your employer only having 15 staff, because Giant Corp is part of that association, the result? GHP remains primary. Mind blown, right? This is why we dig deep. Don't just look at your employer size. Always check if they're part of a larger association. That's a huge primacy shift. Complex logic? We just crushed it.
Let's get right into these tracker fields. They are screaming clues at us. You see group size desk? Are you checking for those less than 100 or greater than 100 values? Because if we hit greater than 100, especially for our under 65 disability beneficiaries, ding, 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 that group health plan is primary. This isn't just data. This is primacy logic staring you down. And then there's group type code. Are we verifying that employment status? Is it active or retiree? Huge difference. Retiree? Medicare is typically primary. Active? Now we need to dig deeper, confirm eligibility, and potentially make that GHP primary. You cannot miss this. The whole claim build hinges on confirming that employment status. These fields, absolute gold for accurate COB.
Let's talk about that critical Medicare rep call. This is your moment to shine, to lock in those details that make or break a recovery. You're on the phone. What are you doing? First up, Step 1. Confirm entitlement reason. This is non-negotiable. Why? Because it must be disability. If you're on the phone and they tell you age or ESRD, what does that tell you immediately? Primacy just flipped, hasn't it? Age and ESRD often mean Medicare primary right out of the gate. So if you're chasing disability, you're on the wrong track. Nail this first. Next, step 2, verify dates. Get those Part A and Part B effective dates. These dates are your foundation. They tell you when Medicare became active, when the clock started for potential recovery. Without these, you're flying blind. You need precise dates, not estimates. Then, step 3, ID check. What are we looking for? That Member Beneficiary Identifier, the MBI. This is your official identifier, your key to cross-referencing everything. Don't leave that call without it. Verify it, confirm it. This ensures you have the right member data. And finally, step 4, record witness. Who did you speak to? Document that representative's name. This is essential for audit trails, for re-verification if needed, for showing you did your due diligence. Accountability, people. Every step here is about precision, about building an undeniable case for recovery. Get these 4 things and you're golden.
We're diving into another logic flow. And this one throws in a brilliant curveball you absolutely need to catch. So, right off the bat, we're asking, is our member under 65 and disabled? Yes? Fantastic. Let's keep going. Next up, is the employer size less than 100? Notice that, less than 100. This is where you might think, wait, doesn't Medicare usually step in for smaller employers? And you'd be right to think that for most situations based on the standard rules. But then, bam, we hit the real nuance, the detail that separates the good from the great COB analysts. Is this plan a multi-employer group with more than 100 total participants? See how we're distinguishing the individual employer from the group plan itself? If that's a yes, even if the direct employer is technically small, the entire group is large enough, and what happens? GHP is primary. How cool is that specificity? It's a key part of our disability MSP rules, where that 100 employee threshold is critical. Now, if that multi-employer check comes back no, meaning it's not a large multi-employer group, or maybe it's just a regular small employer, then the standard rule kicks in. Medicare is primary. Makes sense, right? This flow highlights that critical distinction between a single employer size and the size of the entire plan when it's a multi-employer group. That's a subtlety the audit team loves to spot. You're becoming true COB detectives when you nail these complex scenarios. You're mastering it.
Okay, let's dive into this template. We've got a member here who is disability entitled to Medicare Parts A and B, right? You see that first line? Fantastic. Now, zoom in on that highlighted phrase, less than 100 employees. Is that ringing any bells? It absolutely should be. For a disability situation, for the group health plan to be considered primary, the employer group must have 100 or more employees, 100 or more. So, if we're seeing less than 100 employees, what does that instantly tell us about primacy? That's right, Medicare is primary here. The GHP would be secondary. You spotted that critical detail, didn't you? This is exactly the kind of precision we need to be COB masters. That little detail changes everything for the claim. Love it.
This slide, it's pure gold for avoiding major COB missteps. We're talking about the critical distinction between 20 and 100 employees and why you cannot confuse these thresholds. Look at working aged. That's our beneficiaries over 65, right? The small group exception threshold here is 20. If the employer has fewer than 20 employees, Medicare is primary. But if they hit that magic 20 or more, boom, the group health plan becomes primary. Got it? Now, swerve over to disability. These are our beneficiaries under 65. Their small group exception threshold is a whopping 100. See the difference? If that employer has fewer than 100 employees, Medicare is primary. But if they're at 100 or more, the GHP takes primacy. It's a completely different number. Seriously, look at that red bar. Do not confuse these rules. Why? Because it changes everything. An employer with 50 staff, they are absolutely large when we're talking about working-aged beneficiaries. But that same 50-staff employer is small when it comes to disability beneficiaries. Are you seeing the complex logic here? This is where true COB mastery comes in. Don't let these numbers trip you up on primacy.
All right, time to finalize our findings. You've done the deep dive. Now let's reflect that brilliance in the tracker. First up, Med Prime. What did we discover? Medicare is primary for this member, right? So big, bold Y goes right there. Simple, direct, no ambiguity. But Y isn't enough, is it? When did Medicare become primary? That FDAT field is critical. This isn't just a date, it's the start of our audit window. You better have that Part A or Part B effective date from the IVR verification or that ESRD 30-month rollover locked in right here. Get it wrong? You've just thrown off all our potential recovery. And then the moment of truth, our status code. We've confirmed Medicare is primary, and we've built those claims, haven't we? So we're smashing that drop-down and selecting 513, MC Prime COB written. That tells the whole story. Primacy determined, coordination complete, ready to rumble. And then the notes section. Are we just going to leave it blank? Never. This is where you, the COB Master, immortalize your findings. Look at that hint. Paste small group disability template. But you're not just pasting, you're customizing. Remember what we learned about the 513 status? You need to state explicitly, Medicare is primary for parts A and B beginning blank, built blank claims for approximately blank. Why? Because you are documenting the full story. What was the specific reason Medicare became primary? You're putting it all here, making it crystal clear, leaving zero room for doubt. These aren't just fields, team. They're the summary of your expert analysis. Nail these updates, and you've officially closed the case like the COB Master you are.
All right, COB Masters, let's dive right into this. The detective's checklist for small group disability is fantastic because it makes you think about those nuanced MSP rules we just covered. You've got to be sharp here. First, boom, verify member is under 65 and disabled. Why is that critical? Because it puts us squarely into the disability MSP category, right? We know what that means for primacy if the employer is large. But look at the next line. This is where the real detective work comes in. Confirm employer has less than 100 employees. Why is that so crucial for Medicare to be primary here? Because remember, if an employer has 100 or more employees for a disabled individual, the group health plan is primary. So if we confirm it's less than 100, what happens? Flip. Medicare becomes primary. This is the small group exception within the disability rules that we have to nail. Are you connecting those dots? That's complex logic right there. Then, rule out multi-employer association. Why? Because if it is an association, that 100 employee count isn't just for one employer, it's for the whole group. You could have a small employer in a massive association, completely changing your primacy decision. Don't get caught. After all that amazing logic, what do? Call Medicare rep to confirm date/reason. Always confirm those Part A and B effective dates and the exact reason for entitlement. No assumptions, COB Masters. And finally, you've done the work. You've cracked the case. Set Medicare to primary and tracker. You've proven the small group disability rule applies, and Medicare is picking up the tab. This is what it takes to be a COB Master, understanding those specific conditions that make Medicare primary in disability cases. Are you feeling that power? Yes.